South Sudan is an incredibly fascinating country that I want to talk about briefly in this video. This video won't be able to cover the full history, development, and different groups of South Sudan, but I hope I can give some useful information and that everyone will enjoy this video nonetheless. Besides being just an interesting country, the main reason I'm making this video is because when I worked at Kroger, which is a grocery store back in Nashville, Tennessee, I worked alongside with a South Sudanese immigrant who I really liked and respected. He had been in the US for almost 20 years working hard at Kroger and told me a lot about his country and culture. So I'm making this video for him in a way because of all the stories he shared with me about his nation and people. South Sudan is a relatively new nation, having gained its independence from Sudan on July 9, 2011, following a 98.83% support for independence in a January 2011 referendum. Sudan itself had only gained its independence from British and Egyptian colonial rule in January 1956. While under British and Egyptian rule, northern Sudan, with its majority Arab population, experienced preferential treatment as it underwent economic growth and its infrastructure was developed. Southern Sudan, with its Christian black population, on the other hand, was ignored and neglected, which led to it being severely underdeveloped economically. The Arab North also actively marginalized, persecuted, and exploited the Southern Sudanese, as the Northern Muslim government had a sense of superiority over the Christian South. These ethnic and religious differences, as well as conflicts over resources, are part of the many reasons why there were two bloody civil wars and why South Sudan had to break away and become its own nation in 2011. South Sudan's capital and largest city is Juba, with a population of over 500,000 people. South Sudan is home to around 60 indigenous ethnic groups and 80 linguistic partitions among a population of around 11 million people. That's right, 80 languages that are within this one African nation, which is somewhat comparable in size to the state of Texas. But this is not out of the ordinary for an African country, as many sub-Saharan African nations are made up of hundreds of ethnic groups that have their own languages, religions, and other cultural identities. When it comes to religion, most of the population is Christian, with many also practicing traditional African religions. These religions are a mix of animism and Christian syncretism, which is a combination of Christian doctrine and traditional beliefs. There's a significant minority of people, primarily tribes of Arab heritage, who practice Islam. About 95% of South Sudanese speak one of the Nilo-Saharan languages, an extremely diverse language family. But in South Sudan, though, the official language of the country is English. The Nilotic peoples, indigenous people who have inhabited the Nile Valley, constitute the bulk of the population of South Sudan, with at least 25 ethnic subdivisions. The major ethnic groups are the Dinka, the Nuer, the Bari, and the Azande. The Dinka people are the largest group in South Sudan, representing 35.8% of the population, and primarily live in Anglo-Egyptian Sudan's historic province of Bahr al-Ghazal. The Nuer people, part of the Nilotic group, are the second largest group in South Sudan, representing 15.6% of the population, and they are significant minorities in the greater Upper Nile region, consisting of the South Sudan states of Upper Nile, Jonglei, and Unity. Now, because I need this video to be short, I'm not going to be covering the other smaller tribes of South Sudan. As remember, there are more than 60 indigenous ethnic groups. That is way too many groups for me to discuss in this video. The vast majority of the population lives in rural areas and are made up of subsistence farmers and pastoralists. Historically, neither the Dinka nor the Nuer or any other tribes have a tradition of centralized political authority and embrace a cattle culture where land is held by the community and livestock is the main measure of wealth. The tribes are fragmented into clans of politically separate communities with customs against intermarriage among other clans. The tradition of land ownership in these pastoral cultures is of large tracts of land held in common by the tribe or clan, and thus the imposition of new property laws designed for individual ownership of land for either urban use or farming is challenging to the existing society. Also, part of these tribes' culture is cattle raiding of their neighbors, which leads to constant ethnic violence and displacement. These traditional cultures and tribal conflicts over land and cattle are just two of the many, many reasons why South Sudan hasn't urbanized or industrialized. Just 2 years after South Sudan declared its independence, the country descended into civil war when a political power struggle occurred between President Salva Kiir Mayardit and his former deputy Riek Machar. Ethnic violence broke out as tribes and communities turned against each other, committing acts of genocide and ethnic cleansing. The war lasted nearly 7 years until a peace agreement was reached on February 20th, 2020. Then, on February 22nd, a national unity government was formed, and South Sudan was divided into 10 states, 2 administrative areas, and 1 area with special administrative status. Over 400,000 people are estimated to have been killed in the civil war. More than 4 million people have been displaced, with about 1.8 million of those internally displaced, and about 2.5 million having fled to neighboring countries, especially Uganda and Sudan. Even with the peace agreement, ethnic violence is still ongoing in the country, which further displaces more people and stops the development of South Sudan. It's truly sad that South Sudan's future seems bleak given the effects of all the wars and revolutions had on the population. Many South Sudanese fled and settled into neighboring East African countries such as Ethiopia, Kenya, and Uganda. Their cultures are thus heavily influenced by these nations as they assimilate into their societies. Because of this, many South Sudanese musicians who are part of the diaspora use English, Swahili, Juba Arabic, their African language, or a mix of all to create beautiful works. There are many South Sudanese artists, but the most notable include Yaba Angelisi, who sings R&B and Afrobeat, and Dynamic, who releases reggae. Emmanuel Jal, a South Sudanese Canadian, has become famous on an international level with his unique hip-hop that includes positive lyrics in his songs. Part of the diaspora are recognized athletes such as the professional basket players Luel Deng, Ater Majok, Wenyan Gabriel, and Thon Maker. Gororo Marel, a track and field athlete, competed in the 2012 Summer Olympics, and a film was made about his life called Runner. But there are many more notable figures from South Sudan that I might have not referenced. So, I suggest everybody check out the Wikipedia page on South Sudan to learn more about these people. I'm really glad I met my South Sudanese coworker at Kroger because, like I stated in the beginning of this video, I learned so much about his culture and he got me interested in his nation. I remember one time when we both took our 30-minute lunch break, he shared with me a delicious African cuisine called fufu with goat meat. It was fantastic, as I love how it was a sort of steamed bread with an incredible texture. I highly recommend everybody check out this cuisine as it was great. I hope my coworker friend finds this video and enjoys it even though the information may not be that accurate. I also hope he is doing well in Tennessee, as I believe he is still living there. South Sudan has a long way to go, developing into a modern state, but I wish the people of South Sudan the best in keeping the peace and growing their country. There are many struggles ahead with having poor infrastructure, an uneducated population, mass displacement, and constant famines. If you would like to learn more, I recommend everybody watch Vox's video on the South Sudanese Civil War and Vice's coverage of South Sudan. Links to the videos will be in the description below. Thank you all for watching my video, and I hope everyone has a great day.